You've had a long career, almost 20 years now. Does it feel like 20 years for you?
Well, I mean, because I never expected to have a career as a musician. And so every aspect of my career as a musician is still very surprising to me. You know, I really did believe I would spend my entire adult life making music that no one would ever listen to. Because those were my early years, that's what happened. You know, I played in punk rock bands, played in new wave
30
bands.
years ago, yeah.
And we would play shows and no one would come. And I would make my own music and no one would want to listen to it. So that's what I expected my life to be like. So the fact that I've had an audience at times really surprises me. And I mean, the fact that, I've been making records under my own name for more than 20 years, it's so strange and surprising. It's nice. I mean, I'm really grateful for it. But considering I never expected to have a record contract to begin with, I never expected anyone to listen to what I did, it still seems completely surprising to me that I've been able to make records for a while.
Even after all those years and those successes that you've had?
Yeah, well, I think that at least I do this, like I base my perception of myself based on my early years. Yeah. In my early years, I was completely ignored, which was normal and fine. And that's still how I think of myself. And so whenever someone listens to music that I've made, I'm grateful and surprised. You know, because even in my professional life in the last 20 years, there have been times when no one's wanted to hear what I've done. You know, I've put out records that have sold nothing, that have gotten bad reviews. So it's not like the last 20 years has just been this steady, successful arc. I mean, there have been times when things have been pretty bad.
I mean, the few years before Play, you mean?
A few years before Play. I mean, certainly I've made some records since Play that have gotten bad reviews.
But they sold okay.
They still sold okay, but yeah, it's...
So what is it for you? Is it the sales or is it the reviews? What is more important for you?
For me, there are only two things important in my music career. One is how much love I have for making music, and the other is being able to communicate that with another person. So if a record sells, that's okay. If it gets good or bad reviews, that's okay. If it gets played on the radio, that's okay. What's important is that I love making music and that I get to communicate that with another person. You know, so those are the only two things that matter. Like everything else is interesting, but it's those two things that are precious to me.
And how do you know when you can communicate with the music? For example, this last album, do you have certain people that you will rely on, that if they get your music, if they know what you're meaning, then it's a good album? How do you know when you've made music that connects to other people?
Because I make my records by myself, I never know what other people are going to think until I put it out there.
Okay.
So
you don't have you don't have people that you rely on, that you trust, that you say, well, maybe you can check it.
Sort of. I mean, I play when I'm working on music. I'll sometimes play it for friends, and sometimes play it for my manager. But for the most part, because the music I make is very personal and very subjective, and it's just me making it, I don't know at all what other people might think about it until I put it out into the world. So you put it out into the world and you just sort of sit back and wait. And sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes some people like it and some other people hate it. That's just the nature of making music. But what's really amazing to me is to put out a record and even to have one person come up to me and look me in the eye and say that I've made something that's important to them. And that's more than I ever expected.
Has someone come up to you with this album already?
Yeah, I have to say, so far the reaction to the new album has been quite good. I mean, the nature of the world in which we live and who I am, I'm sure it'll get some bad reviews because there are just a lot of journalists who don't like me. But
how come?
So, as far as why people don't like me, I have no idea. Maybe because I've had some commercial success. Maybe because I'm opinionated and I've irritated people. Maybe simply I've made music that people don't like. I don't know. But, I mean, the world in which we live, especially like the trendy music world, the blogosphere, they love to hate things. And for better or worse, I get hated by them. And that's the nature of the world.
You must have already commented on it, but well, I haven't read it or seen it. What do you think then of Eminem, he portrayed you in a video. What do you think of that?
I think Eminem he's a talented rapper. I mean, he's much more successful than I am. So I think at this point he's probably forgotten anything about me, which is fine. I mean, he's clearly a talented rapper, and he's very good at selling a lot of records.
But were you offended or not, or?
No, I mean, it happened quite a long time ago.
I know.
It happened almost 10 years ago. It's
10
like, it's sort of like, I don't even really remember it too well.
That's good.